couple of sessions today, particularly the STEM one, and thinking about how we're going to empower those students to come up and create the new things that we need, or we're thinking are going to be around. So there are 4 different things and 4 different pillars, if you like, or themes that are running through Microsoft and the cloud at the moment. First of all, enabling the right environment for better learning outcomes, how Microsoft can help schools and communities build student-centered learning environments, having an affordable and accessible learning platform, obviously around Office 365 there and making use of the cloud, and also things like Microsoft Teams that have come out and we'll touch on as we go through this. Modern tools for the classroom collaboration, so that's beyond STEM, that's thinking about how actually you can use some of the other tools that are available in there for 21st century learning skills, preparing our students for tomorrow's jobs, and there's the statistic that says actually many of the jobs we're preparing them for don't already exist, and also then thinking about accessibility, and we'll touch on that in terms of Microsoft and how they're trying to make devices and the platform more accessible for everyone, and not just for the sort of able-bodied and other students that are around. And then experiences that spark creativity. So really about enhancing this learning environment, enhancing how we can learn, how we can teach, how we can change what it is that we're currently doing. And I think we can all play a part in that regardless of our role, whether we're a teacher, whether we are a teaching assistant, whether we're a senior leader, an admin within schools. We can all play our part in how we change systems and make things work and help people. So from the school that I work at, so I'm sorry I didn't explain, I've spent half my week working for Microsoft and half my week working in a school. One of the things I do is go out to talk to schools and universities about how they can adopt Office 365 in their organisation and begin that change process and change management of taking on Office 365. We use technology in our school for these reasons. We use it to save time and enhance learning, and we don't just save time for teachers or students, we save time for admin and the whole of our environment by putting things in place and workflows, etc., allowing us to make everybody more efficient. We see technology as a way of bringing everyone together. We draw from a very disadvantaged background, 57 languages spoken within our school, for example, and we're trying to give everybody and bring everybody together through our use of technology and access to technology. We talk about technology doing the heavy lifting for staff and students by organising ourselves and putting processes and features of Office 365 and SharePoint in place. We can provide things that allow the teachers more time to concentrate on teaching the students, which is effectively why we're there at the school. And we also then look at it levelling the playing field both inside and outside of the classroom. So you've got that access inside, you've got that access outside. And a lot of people ask me then, well, if you pull from such a deprived background, how do you make sure they've got access to this outside? And I've not seen a parent yet who doesn't use social media on a mobile phone of some sort. If you can get social media, it means they've got some sort of connectivity. If they've got connectivity, they can get to Office 365 and our portals and some of our information. Granted, it's not very easy to do your homework on a mobile phone, we appreciate that, but there are other ways of us working around that, and looking at hardship funds, allowing obviously students to do things on paper, the traditional way. So we don't exclude anybody if they're unable to access things at home. We have lots of families who have lots of children, and there's a very much a pecking order of who gets the device first if they have a device in their home, and who's got to wait till last to have access to it. So those are our reasons for why we use technology in particular. So generally at this point, if I was doing a session during the day, which is where we've had this one, I'd say what's the cloud and get some answers from people about what the cloud is. But I think that's been very well explained to you today in a number of different sessions. And in looking at what the cloud is, it's how quickly you think you can get there and how safe it is from doing the safety and security GDPR sessions, saving things up to there, making life easier, getting rid of servers, all those sorts of things can all be done around the cloud and within the cloud. I think something that's really important and puts a lot of people's minds at rest, 7th of September this year, the first UK data centre opened. So no longer was your data being stored, it's not instantaneous, but if you think about it, no longer is it being stored in Ireland and then in Holland, it would move over to the UK, and people who already had a tenancy have that one-time option to opt in to have their tenancy moved to the UK. And many people will have moved their data to the UK, moved their tenancy to the UK, and know now that lots of things are still stored here. There is the caveat that if you enter into preview on any of the applications, say for example when Microsoft Forms was out in preview, lots of the preview, if you roll that out, is the data always goes back to the US. So it's always worthwhile checking where the data's going. There is a website that you can look at, part of Microsoft's website, that tells you where data is stored for all of the apps that you use. So if you think or are at all concerned about any of that, please visit that and you can find out where your data goes. So the affordable and accessible learning platform. Windows 10 devices. Windows 10 devices, making it flexible, access anywhere, familiar user interface and easy transition. But of course it's not just Windows 10 devices. We also know that you can do this on the iOS devices or anything that's got a browser gives you access to Office 365. But the Windows 10S, if you're in that session, Kevin will have explained that obviously then that's an app-based device that you can only run things from the Microsoft Store from. So that one is a little bit different. But Office 365 is far more powerful than just looking at those Windows 10 devices. But if you're running Windows 7, 8.1, etc., getting to Windows 10 has all the extra features that you'd expect and know that students are looking out for. So mixed reality, 3D paint, all those sorts of things that have been mentioned already today in some of the sessions. So modern tools for a modern classroom. Everybody sat here, I think, already knows you can get Office 365 for free. It's not a trial version, it's the full-blown version. You sign up and you've got that 365 tenancy. You would then get Word, Excel, PowerPoint, OneNote, and also Microsoft Teams, as well as additional tools we're going to come on to in a moment. And all you need to get started is just that valid school email address. With that valid school email address, they can tell a lot of information about you, and they can help you go on your journey and get yourself signed up and access Office 365 through portal.office.com. So you don't actually have to attach it to a URL to start with. So you can access a tenancy that way and sign in with your username and your credentials. You can then over time develop it and assign yourself a URL that will take you to it, and that's no problem at all. Enabling the right environment for better learning outcomes. So this is about how you change and have a shift in pedagogy, about what you're trying to do and how you're trying to do it. So how do you want people to work? How would you like them to work differently so that actually your life becomes that little bit easier? The affordable and accessible learning platform is all about, it's available. It doesn't matter where you are, what you're doing, what device to a certain extent you're on, depending on some of the features you get with some bits. But it's available for you all the time to have that access to. And if you've got access to it, you should get an uptake from the students. If you've got the Pro Plus part, telling the students they can download 5 copies of Office at their home address is very, very powerful. Telling teachers they can download up to 5 copies of Office onto a device of their choosing, different devices, is very, very powerful. So downloading Office Mac 2016, for example, is powerful. Downloading it onto a laptop, giving your whole family access. It's one of the first times you've actually got a lot from what you're using outside of paying for the platform that you've already got. Modern tools, I think, is really important, and Kevin would have touched on, if you're in the STEM session, some of those modern things that we've got, and they're going to come up in a moment. But things like in OneNote, being able to draw a triangle now, tap the triangle and give you all the internal angles, being able to then take a point, move it around, and all the angles will change as you move around. You can draw a square, you know the internal angles of a square, but you get the idea. You can draw a 5, 6-sided shape and it will do the same. It will also snap to the fact that if I'm drawing a triangle and maybe I'm not as steady or as good at drawing as I want to be with the ink, it knows I'm trying to draw it if I want it to, and it will snap it to a triangle for me. So it's getting creative and doing lots of things around me. Being collaborative, being able to discuss what you're doing with your class in a safe environment, and we'll show that in Microsoft Teams in a moment. You can also do it in SharePoint very easily, and that's something that's powerful in giving students a voice to be able to talk about their work, to be able to discuss with the knowledge that it's only their third class of 30 that's there that's going to discuss what they're talking about. You haven't got a year 11 coming in and talking about something with the year 7s because of the way you set your permissions up. It's really quite powerful and safe environment for them to look at. You've got collaboration in other ways, in and out of class. So here you can see the example of all of these students here writing and once all at the same time and collaborating on that document and adding things to that document. You can see who's adding it. It's making a record of who's adding what when they're doing it. And that's split up into rows, so it's easy to see. There's the next slide in a moment where we'll talk about how you can do it in other ways. But you are looking at students learning the software that you've got listed in the top demands of employers. Microsoft Office sits very high in demands of employers, and PowerPoint sits all in a place all on its own, which has always kind of interested me that that's what employers want on top of the Microsoft Office skills. But the big thing for me is about being able to share things. And in our environment, we share very, very simply and very easily. We don't do it through email. We've reduced our emails massively. We don't have all staff emails, and we'll touch on that as I move through. Here's another idea of how you can then start to add to each people's work. So you've got James here who's been writing, you've got Marsha here who's then writing, and you can see the things that they've been adding to it. I also get really easy control. I know who's actually here editing my document because it shows me. If I want to then start chatting to those students, I can do so there. So I can engage them in conversation. I might not be in the same room as them at the time, but I can engage with them in conversation about what they're doing and how they're doing it. Managing document revisions. Lots of people have always said, well, how do you take a document? What can you do with it? And can you look at what's then changed, what's happened over time? In the newest versions, by clicking down on the down arrow here, it gives you the option to grab the versioning. Click on it and all the versioning down the right hand side there in the pane, and you'll get a familiar kind of feel that lots of things that they want you to get and have access to are appearing on this right hand side here for people to look at and to use. The app mention part now is gaining momentum. You see it in emails. If you app mention someone in the body of an email, it automatically puts them in the to address at the top. If you app mention people in Microsoft Teams, it notifies them that they're missing something, so go to the team and have a look, and it's very much a social media style buttons on the left hand side as we have a look at it that you can see. And you can share this document from here. I don't have to move with others to other places to share that document. I don't have to go to Explore or anything else to have a look at it. So Word Online, as you would expect, it's all that functionality you expect in Office 2016. Online version, you can create all the documents you want from templates. You can add functionality with Office add-ins like Wikipedia and other Office add-ins that you can add to it to make it a much richer style. In PowerPoint and also in Sway, you can start from a topic now. And in starting from that topic, it will send off a thing to go find out what all the information about that topic you're starting. So always use photosynthesis, I'm not sure why, but I do. It will go off, find everything about photosynthesis, bring it back to you, and it will already have referenced it for you, where it's got it from, and suggest a different layout that you might want in PowerPoint. So it will pull things together. There's elements of people discussing whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, that it goes and gets it and the students don't have to go and find it. But actually, does it give you more time to spend time talking about the information they've found, as opposed to giving them half an hour to go and find it? Because it'll be a very quick thing. So there's the pros and cons of doing that. Excel Online, collaboration tools are new into this because it wasn't there before. I still want to see it working really well. I haven't tried it with lots of people yet, but it'll be interesting to see how that works in terms of rows and columns and who's working in what row and column. I'm told it's much, much better now than it was when they first tried it, so I'd like to try it with quite a few people to see how it goes. I'm still to be convinced of that one, I must admit. PowerPoint Online. I worry about my data with everybody else working it. But PowerPoint Online, so very simple, as you would expect. You're getting suggestions on the right-hand side now again. When you put a picture and some text in there, it suggests a layout for you. And you can go with that layout and that theme. You can start putting 3D objects into here that I mentioned earlier on with different people as well, and new types of transitions that are just going to change the way things are. Co-authoring, exactly the same as you would do in Word, and ideally Excel. So Microsoft Teams, how many people have played with Teams yet? Many people? Kind of on and off a little bit, okay. So, this came out not so long ago, just before, I think, sort of May-ish, June time, it was out officially for people to look at. It was missing the assignment part at that point, and that got added later, so some of my slides don't have the assignment part on, but we'll talk about that. So this is somewhere where you can collaborate and bring things together. It's a hub, is what they're looking for. And within this hub, you can have conversations. You can place documents all in one place. So if you're quite big into SharePoint, or you're thinking about going down the SharePoint route, have a look at this and see how much it can replace for you very quickly. So in deployment terms, I created a team for each of our subjects within about an hour and a half. So that's 25 to 30 teams created based off some groups we already had. I didn't create all the groups, admittedly, but I changed things over very quickly. We moved from a SharePoint site to a Teams site. This is an overlay of SharePoint. So you can open this in SharePoint if you'd like to by clicking on the 3 ellipses at the top there, and you can get back to your standard sort of SharePoint site. But this is kind of a rich overlay for you. It's giving you lots and lots of information. You can see rich document placeholders here and here, and part of the mentioning that I talked to you about before. So making something important gives you a mention at the side. Doing an at with the team name, so this one's called Second Period World War History. So at Second Period World War History will notify everybody in the team that there's something you need to look at. So you're drawing attention to the things that you want. If you just want to mention one person, it will draw attention to that person and they can have a look at that. You get the chance to create a number of different teams, types of. One is a class team, where you would have assignments. You'd be able to write and deploy assignments to that particular team. You can see when students hand it in, you can mark the work, so it's something that's very powerful. You've got professional learning community networks. We use this for our research teams at school. It's minus the assignments part, but it gives you everything else that you would expect. There is a staff team, and then there's a standard team, as they call it. All of these can also have connected and integrated OneNote notebooks, so they're already provisioned as soon as you create the team for you, so you don't have to create them yourself. You don't have to do all the provisioning, and as you would expect with the OneNote notebook, you as the leader can see all of the content. Only those that are in the notebook can see their content, and nobody else's, unless you give them extra permissions and change the way you do it. So this is pulling everyone together. This is making a rich environment for collaboration, to make a rich environment for conversation. We've had some great take-up with this in terms of subjects. So English, for example, was the hardest subject that I was finding to make a shift in technology. When I gave them teams and they found they could write things to each other that they could see instantly and start to share, dare I say it, stickers of all sorts, which is what they enjoyed doing. They enjoyed it, they got engaged with it, they started to use it, and they've come back and talked to me about how, in some point, and maybe whether we ever do move to using it for the students or not, will be an interesting point with the other SharePoint stuff that we've got. But it's something that's really powerful and exciting. I talked about the left-hand side here. You can see activity, chat. Chat's a great function, so I can have a chat with a one-to-one, and that's my chat with that person. I can have a chat with 1 to 2 or 3 people, okay, within that team, or beyond that, I can then start talking to the whole team.
Are those chats logged?
They are logged.
Yeah.
Everything is logged, and it's an important point.
Yeah.
And there is a log of all the chats. There's also a log of all the conversations in the main area, should you need it.
Yeah.
Excuse me. There are also a number of functions that you're allowed to turn on and off. So we had, in our early days, we had a member of staff who went along deleting these channels because he thought they didn't apply to him. He didn't realise he was then deleting it for everybody else. So we had to make sure we turned that off quite quickly. And you live and learn by your mistakes. He was a member of the PE department and they phoned him up and they gave him some grief, the rest of the PE department. But anyway, we sorted it out. But there is a slight naming convention that the team are aware of, Microsoft Teams, that if you delete a channel, you cannot use a channel with exactly the same name again.
Oh.
Okay, at the moment they're trying to fix it very quickly because it actually goes as a soft, what they call a soft delete,
Yeah.
but you can't find it.
But it's still logged or
Yeah,
whatever.
it's still logged there, so
yeah.
you can't use it.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
make sure you turn that bit off before you give everybody
Yeah.
else access to the team. These are my advice for that bit, but it is worthwhile. The Teams guys were here in October. They attended E2, so we were having a long chat with them about all the things that we need to improve. And there's just a new blog just gone out actually with all the updates to Teams that have just come out in it. But you can see, as I've alluded to, you can have a team. It always has a general channel, but then you can break it down into sub-channels. So you get a choice very quickly about doing it in a subject, which is great. We've done it in, so English have theirs, they've broken it down into Key Stage 3, Key Stage 4, Key Stage 5. They've also got different things for their GCSE text, or if they've got a particular thing that they're working on within their department this year, a particular focus. It might be EAL, for example. They'll have a channel based around that where they're putting all the sensible information. It's very rich. So this is a Word document uploaded to here. These people have been commenting on this Word document here, but if they click on the document, it will open up in this window, and you get three options. You can edit directly in Word Online here. You can you can edit here, you can edit in Word Online, or you can edit in the full-blown Word package. So you get a lot of different options. You can stay in here for lots of things. It's also, as you can see, with the mobile at the side, available as a mobile app, so I use it on my phone, and I can have the conversations with people when I'm not around, or haven't got my device, and be able to use it. Just thinking whether we go to assignments in a minute. I might keep going there, but you can do lots of different things with these channels. So across the top here, you then have what they call tabs. So for me, that was the really kind of exciting part to it. I can hang anything off there. There's webhooks I can put in there. I can hang Microsoft Planner up here, so I can set myself tasks, the team tasks based on the plan. It's all integrated into my one group, as you would expect, and I can start to work on it. There's any type of Office document that can go up there. That, when you click on it, and I don't think I'll put the slide in there today, of all the connectors you can get, is about as close as Microsoft's ever come to open source. There are loads of connectors in there, third-party connectors of all sorts of things. There's a Trello in there, there's all sorts of bits and bobs you can already link to if you've got. So they've recognised, actually, we'll create this hub and we'll allow people to bring things in here, bring them into the hub, and then have discussions with them about how they can do other things after that. OneNote, as I alluded to, here you've got the drawing tools, people drawing these things on here, and how you can use that in 3D equations. Anybody not familiar with OneNote? I won't spend too long on it because I expect most people are. I always treat it as a novel. You've got your chapters down the far left-hand side, and then your pages within the chapter as the next part in. And I think it's really nice how they've brought those two together now, instead of being separated as they were in some of the other features. So it's easy for you to collaborate with students. Again, you can eliminate your handouts, you can reduce the amount of printing that you've got. There is a study that was done by an American school that saves $75,000 by switching to OneNote and eradicating printing in their school. And they've come out, they've done a case study, it's called Beaver Creek, as a primary if you want to look and read through it, and they've said how they were doing it. Provide feedback, very, very simply. Again, from inside Teams, you can access the OneNote. You don't have to come out, you don't have to do everything else. Enhance the independence and efficiency. So for me, in the school I teach in, we have a lot of students that arrive with very low literacy levels. So we've been embracing the tools that are now up there, called the learning tools that are available. You can see them here being broken down by syllables to try and help students read, and then there's a number of other things that you can do on there as well to enhance those sort of learning tools for yourselves. You've got students then that can create things very simply themselves. You can have learning tools read to you. You can use learning tools within Office Lens. Anyone used Office Lens or not used it? If you haven't, get it. It's an amazing app on your mobile, on your Windows 10 device or other devices that are there. And it can read something, a picture you've taken. So if I took a picture of this, for example, it would pick up the text for me, and I can put it into the immersive reader, and it would then read that text for me based on that picture very, very accessible for us. So, I mentioned OneNote and the learning tools. These are now being spread out across the whole of the Office 2016. They're now in Word. You'll also see them come into Edge very shortly, more than they're already there for you to be able to use. So this text here, I've then gone into learning tools, gone into what's called the immersive reader, and this is how it comes out with a black background. I have the option to change the colour of the background, so if you've got students with dyslexia that prefer to read with a particular background, you can change the background to that colour for them. You can change the size of the text if you've got somebody with sight problems and you need to make it bigger. Not only can I break it down by syllables, but I can also highlight all the nouns, all the verbs, and all the adjectives, which I think, again,